Filipinos at the war zone in Gaza. DFA Undersecretary Ed De Vega told Radio 5 that out of the 134 Filipinos in the war-torn area, about 115 want to be repatriated. Many of them are at the Rafah border crossing, which was open for the first time since the conflict erupted on October 7. For now, only those injured and members of international organizations have been allowed entry into Egypt. 2 Filipino doctors affiliated with Doctors Without Borders were among those who have been given safe passage.
Napakagulo pa rin ang situation sa Northern Gaza at Gaza City kung saan patuloy yung pag-a-attack ng Israel sa Hamas targets, no? Pero wala naman dun yung mga karustat ng mga Pilipino natin nasa Southern Gaza sila, including iba nasa Rafah crossing, naghihintay lang tumuloy. Yung dalawa, nakalis na. Yung dalawang doktor, with the Doctors Without Borders organization, nakalusot na sa Egypt border.
De Vega added that all Filipinos from Gaza are now all accounted for. DFA has earlier placed the city under alert level 4. This means mandatory evacuation due to ongoing attacks on the occupied strip.
Lahat accounted for dahil bumalik na yung telecommunications. So lahat ng 136, ngayon 134, accounted for at walang injured. Magdidesisyon na rin yung mga Israeli Egyptians kung kailan talagang papasok na sa Egypt yung mga tayuan.
The World Health Organization welcomes Egypt's decision to open its borders to patients from Gaza. Egypt received 81 injured and sick Palestinians from the war-torn strip. The WHO has been working with Egypt to establish a comprehensive triage, stabilization, and medical evaluation system. They're also working with the Egyptian Red Crescent Society to ensure that psychological trauma support services are available. Thousands more people in Gaza are still in need of access to urgent and essential health services. These include about 1,000 who need kidney dialysis to stay alive and over 2,000 patients on cancer therapy. U.S. President Joe Biden is working on a national strategy to combat Islamophobia amid the Israel-Hamas war. But many Muslim Americans are not buying this. This report by the Associated Press tells us why.
Let Gaza live! Let Gaza live! Let Gaza live!
I'm Zeke Miller, a White House correspondent for the Associated Press, and we're reporting the White House is preparing a national strategy to combat Islamophobia that they have been working on quietly for some time and are preparing to publicly announce. But they are facing some pushback from elements of the Muslim American community over the administration's staunch support for Israel and its war against Hamas in Gaza.
Ceasefire now!
And particularly as Israel strikes against Hamas targets that have killed thousands of civilians in the Gaza Strip. That has led many in the Muslim American community to step up their calls in the administration, step up their pressure on President Biden to call for an immediate ceasefire and other sorts of humanitarian interventions to protect civilians and calls for more restraint from Israel. That has not been the tact that the Biden administration has taken thus far, and that has created a lot of tensions between President Biden and elements of the Muslim American community.
What they say to me is I have no notion that the Palestinians are telling the truth about how many people are killed. I'm sure innocents have been killed.
Then his people said that, oh, not 500 people were killed, maybe 100 to 300. So he's always giving cover. How can you give cover at the same time you are saying that I am being sensitive to Islamophobia issues? He is not. He is a man of complete political identity, and that's what he's playing.
The timing of this strategy comes as the country has seen a massive uptick in both incidences of anti-Jewish and anti-Muslim rhetoric and attacks, including the tragic murder of a 6-year-old Muslim American boy in Illinois just a couple of weeks ago. That has sort of catalyzed the administration's efforts to try to speed up this national strategy. The Muslim American community has traditionally been a significant component of the Democratic base, particularly in swing states like Michigan. There are some growing concerns within the Democratic Party, not necessarily that they're going to turn around and vote for Republicans, but that Muslim Americans could stay home or throw their weight behind a protest vote. That could drain some support from President Biden as he seeks to win re-election. And in races where that are decided by tens of thousands of votes, something like this could potentially make a difference.
Time to take a quick break. One News Now will be back with more stories after that. Stay with us. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Denise Tan. Comelec is now working on guidelines that will govern a persons deprived of liberty who won in the recent BSKE. The poll body will discuss this with W.H.O. Just recently, 3 PDLs won in this year's barangay elections. One of them is Pakalinog from the Dasmariñas City Jail who won as Barangay Kagawad. Even while incarcerated, he claims to be no stranger to politics. He said this is his third term and that he wants to serve well despite being in prison.
Hindi ko inaano dahil tulad na sinabi ko na pati mga ka-teammate ko, oy, bakit tumakbo yan? Nakakulong yan. Anong may papanalo yan? Kaya sabi ko, bahala na. Kung talagang mananalo ako, ano tayong magawa? Kung matatalo naman ako, okay lang. Ang pangako ko sa kanila, kung tutulungan ko kayo, wag nyo na lang isipin na nakakulong ako. Kahit nasaan ako, pag gusto ko tumulong, makakatulong talaga ako.
But how exactly do winning candidates work behind bars? Inmates are not allowed to use cell phones, tablets, or laptops inside their cells. But the Dasmariñas City Jail is looking to allow winning PDLs to attend virtual council meetings and receive calls from the barangay so that they can still perform their duties even while incarcerated. Despite this, Interior Secretary Benhur Abalos clarified that winning inmates will still be subjected to rules inside the jail.
kakaiba nga eh. Siguro yung virtual niya. There will be no special treatment. So, hindi naman pwedeng porke nanalo kang kapitan, 24 hours nasa telepono ka. Kung anong panukala meron tayo sa kulungan, sundin pa rin natin yun.
The Comelec, on the other hand, said that this is the first time they've allowed PDLs to vote and be elected. The DILG gave winning barangay and SK election candidates 3 weeks to transition smoothly into their offices. They also hope to create clear guidelines for the PDLs who won as barangay officials within that period. Comelec said that winning PDLs are automatically disqualified once they are convicted.
Hindi naman po nawala yung kanilang right to suffrage and run for elections. Hindi pa naman po sila convicted with finality. Pending appeal ang kanilang kaso. Ay talaga naman na-retain nila ang kanilang civil at juridical rights at kasama po dito ang pagboto at pagtakbo.
On All Souls Day, visitors continue to flock cemeteries today. In Angono, Rizal, residents continue to arrive at the town's public cemetery. However, some tombs are submerged in floods while others are being blocked by apartment-type graves. Over 3,000 people are expected to visit Angono Municipal Cemetery today. Over at the Manila North Cemetery, some visitors chose to spend the night outside of the gates. They were not able to enter the cemetery because it was already closed when they arrived at 8 in the evening. Yesterday, 1,025,000 visitors were recorded to have visited Manila North Cemetery. In Manila South Cemetery, 250,000 people visited on All Saints' Day this Wednesday. Today, they are expecting less than 10,000 people to visit the cemetery. We now give you a quick look at today's other top stories. Canvassing and proclamation of winners are complete for this year's Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. Comelec said there was no failure of elections in any of the country's 42,001 barangays. There will be a transition period before newly elected BSKE officials can finally assume their post. All candidates, winners and losers, are required to submit their statement of contributions and expenditure by November 29. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida will meet with President Bongbong Marcos in an official visit to the Philippines on November 3 and 4. The leaders will discuss various issues on the West Philippine Sea. Political and security cooperation, economic and people-to-people relations are also on the agenda. Kishida will also visit the Philippine Coast Guard headquarters on Saturday. Survey says 60% of Filipinos have part-time jobs. Market research company Agile Data Solutions Inc. said younger people are the most involved in side hustles. This is in a bid to bolster their income and attain financial stability. The online survey covered 1,000 Filipinos aged 18 and up and was done between July and September. One News Now will be back at 3:15 p.m. Join us again later. I'm Denise Tan. We are One News.